November 13, 2022. Moscow, Idaho, a quiet college town, wakes up to a nightmare. Four University of Idaho students are brutally stabbed to death in their off-campus home. The crime is so shocking, so senseless, that it sends shockwaves across the entire nation. For weeks, no one knows who did it or why. Then, a shocking arrest. A criminology PhD student, someone who was literally studying crime, is accused of one of the most horrific murders in recent memory. His name? Bryan Kohberger. But here's what makes this case even darker. In 2025, Bryan Kohberger pleaded guilty to all 4 murders, and yet, investigators still say they can't find a motive. Tonight, we're going deep into the chilling case of Bryan Kohberger, the Idaho killer who may have taken his secrets to the grave. Let's start with the night it all happened, November 13, 2022. It was a Saturday night in Moscow, Idaho. The University of Idaho students had spent the evening just like thousands of other college kids, at parties, at food trucks, hanging out with friends. Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen, both 21, were at a bar and later seen on a live stream at a food truck around 1:40 a.m. Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, a couple, had been at a fraternity party. By 2 a.m., everyone had returned to the 3-story rental house they shared with other roommates. At around 4 a.m., investigators believe the killer entered the house. What happened next is almost too horrifying to imagine. All 4 students were stabbed multiple times with a large fixed-blade knife. 2 other roommates were in the house that night and survived. One of them even saw a masked man leading through the sliding glass door. But terrified and frozen, she locked her door and didn't call police until hours later. When police finally arrived around noon, they were met with what they later called one of the most gruesome crime scenes they'd ever seen. For weeks, fear gripped Moscow. Students left town. Families begged for answers. And police, under immense pressure, launched a massive investigation, but for a time, they had no suspect, no murder weapon, and no clear motive. Enter Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University, just 10 miles away from Moscow. Kohberger had earned degrees in psychology and criminal justice before enrolling in WSU's criminology program. Classmates described him as socially awkward, intensely analytical, and sometimes unsettling in conversation. Faculty would later say they noticed creepy and sexist behavior in the months leading up to the murders. Investigators began to focus on Kohberger after a white Hyundai Elantra registered in his name was spotted on surveillance footage near the crime scene multiple times that night. They tracked his cell phone records, which showed him in the area in the early morning hours and even circling back later that day. But it was a tiny piece of evidence that sealed their case. A knife sheath found next to Madison Mogen's body contained a single male DNA sample. After covertly collecting DNA from the trash at Kohberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania, investigators matched it to the crime scene. On December 30, 2022, Kohberger was arrested in a dramatic pre-dawn raid at his parents' home. He was extradited to Idaho and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. From the moment Kohberger was arrested, the case became a media firestorm. Who was this man, and why would he kill 4 strangers? At his initial court appearances, Kohberger remained silent except to answer basic questions. He waived his right to a speedy trial. Prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty. But then, in July 2025, in a move that shocked victims' families and the public, Kohberger changed his plea to guilty, sparing himself the death penalty in exchange for 4 consecutive life sentences without parole. During sentencing, family members of the victims gave powerful impact statements, describing their pain and the hole left in their lives. Kohberger reportedly sat emotionless, showing no visible remorse. Here's the part that still haunts everyone following this case. Investigators say they found no personal connection between Kohberger and any of the victims. No text messages. No social media interactions. No clear link. So why did he do it? Was it a thrill kill? A criminology experiment? A twisted attempt to commit the perfect crime? Experts have speculated that Kohberger's studies in criminal behavior may have played a role, that he may have wanted to outsmart investigators, to prove his own intellectual superiority. Some even pointed to his survey, posted online months earlier, where he asked ex-cons how they planned and executed their crimes. But despite his guilty plea, Kohberger never gave an explanation. And because of that, the motive remains one of the most disturbing mysteries in recent American criminal history. Bryan Kohberger now spends every day inside an Idaho maximum security prison. He will never walk free again. But the unanswered question, why it still lingers like a shadow over Moscow, Idaho. 4 young lives were stolen. A quiet community was shattered. And the man responsible, a student of criminology, left behind only silence where answers should have been. So we'll leave you with this question: do you think investigators will ever uncover his motive, or is this one case where the truth may never come out? If you found this deep dive helpful, make sure to like this video so others can find it, and subscribe for more cases just like this one. We cover the darkest crimes with the respect the victims deserve and help keep their stories alive.